Have you ever learnt the major scale and tried to use it to solo over a progression, let's say in the key of D major, and found yourself asking, why doesn't this sound quite right? You're playing the D major scale, so technically all the notes fit, but somehow it still sounds off. Here's the missing piece. As the chord changes, so does the relative importance of each note in that scale. Just sticking to one shape from the root of the key sadly isn't enough. To really sound right, you need to be able to shift your perspective with each chord change, treating each root note as its own center. And this is where I think the value of learning modes comes in. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can start to unlock the modal chord connection with a 1-6-5-4 progression in the key of D major, so you can stop guessing and start creating musical solos with confidence. We'll begin with playing the progression using triad shapes, and in doing so, we're going to create our scale pattern for the lesson, all right? So D major, I'm going to play it down here to B minor, the 6, to A, to G. So with those notes on the fretboard, you can see a scale pattern starting to form. If I add the tonic, the root note of D, on string 5, I then get a scale pattern like this. This scale pattern, I call it the C shape, in accordance with caged, orientated towards the headstock in this diagonal, linking these two octave root notes, and it will extend in that same playing position up to the A note at the 5th fret of string 1, and it descends to the F sharp, the 3rd of the scale, 2nd fret of string 6. Forgot to say, if you don't yet know your triad shapes, I've got a free PDF available to you with the link in the cards. The first big takeaway for you is that over any chord in the key, you can always rely upon the pentatonic scale of that root note. So on my one chord, my D major pentatonic will work perfectly. There's my D chord, and you can see the major pentatonic falls perfectly within the scale pattern. That I would call the C-shaped major pentatonic, again orientated around those C-shaped root notes. And to go modal, we can always work out of the pentatonic scale when we add 2 additional notes. We see what those notes are from the scale pattern, and because we're on the one chord, it's going to be the major scale. We're going to be adding in the 4th and the 7th major scale degrees. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root. With the chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, root. 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're the notes that are available to us when we're on the one chord. Now this, to give it its modal name, is Ionian. So in the major key over your one chord, you always have the Ionian mode available to you. So an exercise I would recommend for you is to take that scale pattern and play it up and down, but with a little emphasis, a little rest, as it were, upon the chord tones to develop the confidence as to exactly where the chord tones are. The root, to the 3, to the 5, to the root, to the 3, to the 5. Mix it in a little bit with the pentatonic. And then we've got our one chord done. As we move on to the 6th chord, this is always the relative minor in the major key. So B minor is known as the relative minor of D major. You may know then that the D major pentatonic is also the B minor pentatonic. It's the same scale pattern, but it's not the same intervals. If we limit ourselves to this scale pattern for today, my B note is going to be on the 5th string at the 2nd fret, and its octave is the 4th fret of string 3. With this octave shape, I know I have this bar chord. We saw that triad just earlier. And so I'm in what I call the A minor shape. So B minor pentatonic will work over this 6th chord, and the scale gives us the additional 2 modal notes. We're going to be adding in the C sharp and the G. Hearing that in context with the chord. So that's a root to flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. So B natural minor is also known as B Aeolian. Aeolian is your mode over the 6th chord. So again, doing a little bit of the work, linking up the chord tones, but using this modal pattern. I'd be root to flat 3, 4, 5, to the root. Then as we hit the 5 chord, it's A major. I have the open A chord, which within my scale pattern, I'm going to use this G shape of the A chord, linking the 6th 3 octave to the 3 1 octave of that A root note, and that gives me the G shape. So the G shape major pentatonic, which I can be confident will work over my 5 chord, would be this. And once again, if I want to create the modal scale pattern, I work from the available notes and see what I would be adding in. I would be adding in the D, the 4th of the scale, the perfect 4th, and the G, which is known as the flat 7. It's the 7th scale degree from A major, but flattened. A major would have a G sharp. Here we have a G natural. Let's put that to the chord so we can hear that. A major gives us so upon my 5 chord I have what we call the Mixolydian mode. That is close to major scale, but the 7th scale degree is lowered down 1/2 step to a flat 7. So again, that exercise of linking the chord tones be 1 to 3 to 5 to the root. 3, 5, to the root. And it's similar as we come to the 4 chord. It was G major. In this playing position, I'm seeing that within this E shape bar chord. Gives me the E shape major pentatonic. That will work over the 4 chord. But again, what are my 2 available notes for the modal scale pattern? Again, I've got C sharp and F sharp. Put that to the G chord to hear that. That gives me root 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. What's changing? This 4th degree, which you would expect to be C natural in G major, is now C sharp. It's a sharp 4 to give us what we call Lydian, a Lydian mode. Taking that exercise of the chord tones, root, 2, 3, 5, root, 3, 5. So over my 4 chord, I'll have available to me the Lydian mode scale pattern. So let's take a recap. So D, the 1 chord. We had this chord shape. I have the major pentatonic, to which I could add the 4th and the 7th for D Ionian. To the 6th chord of B minor, I have the B minor pentatonic and the B natural minor, the B Aeolian mode. To the 5, I would have the A major pentatonic and then the mixolydian. And then the 4 chord. I have the major pentatonic. And the Lydian modal scale pattern. Now we're doing that all within one area of activity, I like to say, but these rules, as it were, will apply wherever you are on the fretboard, all right? The 1 chord, you're always thinking Ionian. The 6 chord, you're always thinking Aeolian. The 5 chord, mixolydian. The 4 chord, Lydian. And that way, you're always going to be hitting the right notes, and you'll always be orientating yourself around the correct root notes. As always, tabs and charts will be available on Patreon, and I'm going to be opening up a new teaching schedule. So if you're interested in taking live lessons with me, you can find out more with the link in the description. You practice well, and I'll see you next time.